to the Utah Built podcast, where we feature the people, personalities, businesses, and brands that are uniquely Utah built. I am Jared Banks, your host, and today we are joined by the founder of PC Laptops, Xidax Computers, the ugly unicorn crypto hedge fund. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Yeah. Dan Young, how are you, man?
Hey, dude.
Thanks
Awesome.
for being here.
Thanks for inviting me on, man.
If you want to see the entire episode with Dan, as well as our past episodes, give us a like and follow on Facebook, Instagram, all your social media platforms, as well as wherever you download your podcast and get all of your audio. So, as one of probably the most familiar faces in all of Utah business, you've been doing it for so long here in Utah. Tell me about what it was like for young Dan, because everybody knows the "we love you" Dan Young, right? Tell me what it was like growing up and what you were like as a kid and what life was like for you.
So I grew up in Los Angeles, California, and just was super rowdy. Just loved to party and hang out with girls and do all kinds of dumb stuff, like most teenagers do.
Very LA of you.
Yeah, and then, it kind of caught up with me a little bit, so I ended up moving to Utah and moving in with my sister when I was 16 years old and cleaned my act up, and got on this, pretty good guy and hang out with, good people and got some great mentors and it started a business, a few businesses.
Well, more than a business, right? Like one of the most iconic kind of tech brands. Talk about when you decided to start what was first Totally Awesome Computers, right?
No. We were there first and they were a competitor.
And they copycatted your model, right?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, and then the owner there and I kind of became friends, and he closed his locations, and we took over a bunch of leases, so we had, more locations. Yeah.
And you guys have grown now to be, if I look at this, you are a multi-year Inc. 500 company, right? Mm. As well as now you sit on the AMD Gaming Advisory Council for the last 16 years.
Yeah, Intel was 16 years. AMD's been, I think, a few now as well. But I just retired from Intel's board of advisors after 16 years. A lot of meetings, but really great company.
So when you talk about like the proliferation of the PC computer, like when we were kids, because you and I are about the same age, I think, the home computer was starting to become a thing and it ended up in everybody's house. And then the laptop became the go-to mode. And now most people, I would say, probably have a laptop as a priority. And I do. I don't ever sit down at a desktop computer. It's always my laptop everywhere I go. Did you see that kind of coming? Was that something or is that just something that just happened that you were able to go with?
Well, we knew mobile was going to pick up, but now there's a big resurgence into desktop computers because of power. So for AI development, blockchain development, fintech, any sort of science, 3D modeling, rendering, you need a desktop.
You got to have the computing power that a desktop gives.
Yeah, most laptops can be a little bit underpowered for that.
So what was Genesis for you when you decided to start PC Laptops? Where was that? Because you come here at 16. How old were you when you started PC Laptops?
What was I? About 19 years old. And the big genesis was I was working at a place called Silo. They were like a Best Buy type of place. And they went out of business, so I had no job. So unemployment forced me to do it. So a lot of my friends went to go work for R.C. Willey to sell furniture and TVs, and great place. And there's a place called Circuit City, right? And then there was Best Buy. I'm like, well, before I go work somewhere else, let me see if I can make it on my own. So I got the list of my customers I sold computers to, and I started calling them and saying, hey, if you need help with your computer, here's my pager number, page me. And that first year I lost over $25,000 in the red. It was my wife was really not happy with me. And then next year we did over $1 million in revenue, so it was good.
So things turned around really quick then.
After a year.
Look, a year in business terms though, that's pretty quick.
It's pretty good, yeah.
When you look at a lot of businesses don't make it past a year.
Yeah.
3 to 5 years they operate in the red before turning a profit. So, what was the key to that? Do you think?
Really is customers, and when we say we love you, that phrase is actually came up because. I was talking to my mom, and she's like, "You really got to take care of your customers. You got to take care of customers like you take care of me. You love me, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, Mom, I love you." So I started adding this "we love you" in the commercials, and I started telling all the men and women who work for me, "Hey, treat everyone like your mom, your grandma, treat them really well, like your uncle, whatever it is. Just be patient and help them out." That's what people are paying for, is that human connection and help. That is what people are buying, along with the technology. But the relationship And help is more important, I'd say, than even just the hardware. I mean, hardware is important, but help is even more important.
Well, and that's really the separator right now in a lot of businesses, right? It's the customer service experience. The complaint from a lot of people that customer service is dead and people don't know how to treat customers, and we're all numbers online and everything's, on demand to your house. But then you walk in, I've walked into your stores, I don't know how many times, and you're always greeted with a smile. Every stupid question that I've ever asked has never been treated like it's a stupid question. None of your guys ever assume that anybody knows anything. Mm-hmm. It really is a different kind of experience where you're used to, like, the tech guy, like, was it the Jimmy Fallon Saturday Night Live, move, and, be treated like you're an idiot. Like, your people don't do that, and I think that starts from the top down with you. So
yeah, it's important for employees that you give them good benefits, you treat them well. You let them have some feedback and input into things. And, I mean, if you want them to treat customers like their mom, you got to give them a certain amount of good care, too, as well. Because however we act, they just follow the example,
Right.
So
those are like the 3 Ps of business, right? People, process, and pay. Mm-hmm. You have to have good people in place first, good processes that allow them to be efficient. You got to pay them well to keep them and let them stay there. And you've got a lot of guys that I know have been with you for a really long time.
Yeah, some guys are like 16, 17 years, so it's great having people stick around. That's nice.
That's super cool. Now, I know family's always also been a part of your brand. Obviously, you talk about We Love You coming from mom. Your 2 kids were both featured very prominently in a lot of your marketing. What was that decision like with your wife saying, hey, we're going to make, Jake the laptop kid and Naya the desktop girl or whatever? Was she okay with that? Was that her?
Yeah, because both of them didn't like school too much, so this was real life experience, and it taught them not to be scared to, make commercials, look silly in front of people. That's a big thing, because both of them were a little shy when they were little, but once they started doing that, it was fun. And now to this day, my daughter, he has an art store, mm-hmm. And my son, he handles a lot of purchasing and he negotiates with people. But that skill is so valuable. I think all parents should take their kids to work and teach them how the real world works, because school's good and stuff, but it's not the same as like being in the real environment with real problems.
Well, and I've learned too that like by the time I learned in school what I needed, in the real world had already moved past that. Like what I was learning in school was obsolete by that, because especially now the marketplace changes so quick, right? Everything we're doing is 6 months from now will be completely different than what it is now.
The only big important thing about school, I think, is when people complete, and let's say they get a degree of some kind, I just look at it like, okay, they were able to complete something they started. Right. I don't really care what the degree is in. It could be in like sewing or something. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's fine. It's like if they completed what they said they'd start. Now, this also applies to their previous history of completing, like designing a website, whether it's a hobby one or videos or whatever. All this stuff is important about showing completion. But at the end of the day, I always say everyone already got paid for yesterday. It's what can you do for a company or a client now that matters, because nobody cares about that trophy from high school. Nobody cares. No one really does care. Now, people care, oh, look what I did back in high school, but you're only as good as your last deal. We already got paid for yesterday.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
That's a great way to put that. We already got paid for yesterday, right?
Yeah, it's like who cares if you won championship last year?
What are we doing this year?
Yeah, if you're not winning this year, then nobody cares. Yeah.
Until you win 6 or 7 and you're the Michael Jordans or the Tom Bradys of the world, and, you can have those in your Zoom background. Did you see Michael Jordan's picture of his Zoom background recently?
Yeah.
It's all of his NBA trophies and MVP trophies behind him, and he does all his Zoom meetings with that, just because he needs to flex one more thing on people.
Michael's done well, though. He's done well. He's a good businessman, too.
He's made some incredible decisions. What did he make? Just $2 billion on the recent sale of the basketball team in Charlotte, I think was the deal.
Smart guy. Shaq Smart, all those guys.
Shaq is another one that's made some awesome decisions and fun decisions, too. Like, I read he owns the rights to Marilyn Monroe.
He owns a bunch of crazy stuff. We actually had dinner with him, like, last year, and he's got his hands in a lot of things.
He started with the Business for Dummies book. Was how he got into business, and he said that taught him to incorporate his family as a business, and he pays his parents and everything's protected by the business now. What a crazy way to look at your family. But you've involved your family that way. I mean, talk about your son's a big part of the development of Xidax computers, right? Which is the gaming PCs that you guys are developing. Talk about that.
Yeah, so gaming is huge now, but also content creation. So if you play a video game or if you watch a movie, they need good equipment to make those movies. Now, when a video game is being made, for example, when a render needs to be done for video or coding, let's say it takes 8 hours on a basic iMac or something like that. Good computer, but still very basic. You can get a good, powerful desktop with a lot of GPUs that can greatly speed that up, and you can get like a project that would take 8-9 hours to process and pound that out in an hour or two. And that time savings is incredible.
It's I can't tell you how many, even just the little things that we do where it's 5 minutes worth of video and it takes 45 minutes for that to, like you said, render. Once all the editing is done and everything's, and you hit download, that's the time that it takes. So if you cut that down to another 5 minutes worth of video, that frees up another hour of my day to go do whatever I want. It's pretty awesome.
You'd be surprised because we sell to like Google, Amazon, NVIDIA, Microsoft, all those companies. And literally you'll see, some of these developers are paid a few $100,000 a year. Some of them have said that 8-hour renders we've got down under 7 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. If you go watch that show, Skinwalker Ranch, we did all their command center and all that. Like Eric, the super scientist dude, that's what he uses, our Xidax machines, to power all those cameras and everything like that.
Now, didn't they just find like some kind of UFO thing coming out of the Mesa on that? Was that your video machine that was doing that? I saw a clip that came up, and they found like a UFO exiting a Mesa or something and caught it on infrared camera on one of your machines, I'm assuming.
They have a bunch of our computers, some older ones and some newer ones and just some new laptop stuff. And so they're using that to do a lot of their research.
And that, again, is another family business that I know your son plays a role in that, doesn't he?
Yeah, for Xidax, for Xidax and PC laptops and all of our those tech companies, he helps run all the purchasing, all the goods.
That's super cool. So let's switch gears a little bit because this is something I know almost nothing about, but it's a term we hear all the time with cryptocurrency. So you are the founder of the Ugly Unicorn Crypto Hedge Fund. What is that? And explain to people what the blockchain is. Because I don't think a lot of people, we hear those words in the general public, but if you're outside of the industry, what does that blockchain mean?
Well, to explain it in just layman's terms, everything right now is based on a ledger, right? So if you even just work with a traditional bank, they digitally record all your bank deposits and everything like that. The difference with blockchain is it's like Bitcoin, for example, it's a public ledger. So all the transactions are everyone can see them, right? So it's actually really hard to hide stuff. And that is cool. It keeps people honest. Now, if you look at banks and things like that, you've seen a lot of these banking scandals where they cook the books or the government.
Was the San Fernando one that just went under or whatever for $4 billion or something ridiculous like that?
Yeah, SVB.
Yeah.
Big deal, a lot of those things. Now, what we do at the Ugly Unicorn Crypto Hedge Fund is this. We only can take in accredited investors. So they have to have a certain amount of net worth, which is about $1 million besides their primary residence, and a certain amount of income per year. You can Google that. But those are the only type of investors that can deploy into our fund. But we manage their cryptocurrency holdings. Now, with cryptocurrency, a lot of people will buy Bitcoins, right?
That's the one everybody knows.
Or right? Ethereum,
or
right?
What is it, Dogecoin?
Dogecoin, Pepe Coin, whatever they're buying, right? But when most people buy them, they hope they go up in value. Just like real estate. People buy real estate and they hope that it goes up in value. But wouldn't it be crazy to own real estate and not collect rent? It'd be crazy, right?
Right.
So what we do is we provide what's called liquidity. And what is liquidity? If someone wants to trade one type of crypto for another, these decentralized exchanges use our investors' money.
Got it.
And we make a percentage. It's called an exchange fee. So Coinbase, for example, they're what they call a centralized exchange. They keep the exchange fee. Mm-hmm. But for us, we return 80% of the fees that we make back to our clients. So our clients do really well. So what happens, though, for example, Bitcoin dropped 70% in this period from June to June within a 12-month period. And our fund only adjusted 17%, which is insane. Because if something takes a 70% drop and we can mitigate risk, reduce risk, and now we're really healthy. We're beating Bitcoin index now, obviously, because Bitcoin's gone up. But that's the whole point. So we manage money for family offices and wealthy families.
So as it comes and goes off of the digital exchange, rather than using like the centralized hub, your fund essentially is what allows those different cryptocurrencies to come and go.
Yeah, we facilitate we call it liquidity pools for all these. For
and liquidity means just you get money back. You get, right?
Liquidity means we're providing the tokens for these exchanges to operate. So an example, you've seen a money exchange in the airport.
Yeah.
Peso to US dollar, right? And they keep a little bit of commission, right? We provide Ethereum and Bitcoin and 50 other different tokens to these exchanges. And so when the market dumps, we make money. When people buy, we make money.
When people sell, either like
we're making money,
you get it all the way.
Yeah, we're making money everywhere.
See, that makes so much more sense to me than just like, the trading or swapping coins out, I had a boss that was obsessed with the rise and fall of that Dogecoin. And he would literally look on his phone. It's up 2 cents. It's down 3 cents. It's up 5 cents.
You know the type. There's a lot of people chasing the trend. They're buying GameStop one week at AMC.
This was the same time when all of that was going on. Yeah.
But the people who chase the trend are usually too late. I built the largest Bitcoin mining facility in Utah in 2014 in South Jordan, and we were mining Dogecoin in 2014. That's a long time ago. And people go, "How'd you do?" And we're like, "We did pretty good."
I did all right.
But really, once the mainstream hears about it and is really engaging it, it's just like crypto right now. Bitcoins are as of today, like 30,000, 31,000. They were up to like 70,000. So we're sitting in the sale, right? This is not financial advice, but man, I'm telling you guys, like when you see stock markets adjusted 50%, 70%, 80%, when you see any asset that you think is going to be around, it might not be a bad idea to do a little research on that. Because when something's on sale, that's when you want to buy. Buy low, sell high.
What was it? Was it Rockefeller that said when there's blood in the streets, buy stocks?
Oh, that's Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. So, our generation's Rockefeller, essentially, right? Like when you talk about business acumen, which I have none of. So it's awesome I get to sit with guys like you who keep in touch with those trends because you were such an early adapter. I know you've become a go-to guy for a lot of people in the crypto industry. How has it been to see like the next generation of guys come in and push that technology further? What's next for blockchain other than just buying and selling currency? Because we see the shakiness of like the regular traditional currency and the market fluctuation, and it seems like cryptocurrency operates at a different level and a different frequency than that.
So the government, as you saw just a couple weeks ago, they went and sued Binance and Coinbase. And the reason is the big institutions like Fidelity, BlackRock, they already have, Fidelity's been mining Bitcoin since 2014.
Mm-hmm.
They have...
BlackRock's another one that has billions involved and tied to it.
Huge. And Fidelity has arguably between $4 and $15 trillion under management, depending where you're looking, domestic or international. So really, crypto is just a drop in the bucket compared to their portfolio mix. And if you look at like JP Morgan, Chase, and those things, for example, when SVB went out of business, they got their assets for 7 cents on the dollar, and no one else was bidding for it. They got a sweetheart deal with the government, right? So, and that's fine. Maybe the government had a deal with them or whatever, But those big institutions, that's what's going to cause a rise. Did you know that all crypto is only $1.2 trillion as of today?
I saw, was it you that posted it? That may have been, I saw a post. I've been following you for years trying to make sense of all of this.
Apple's $3 trillion.
Like their total, like for
all
everything.
of crypto's like a third almost to Apple. One company. So it's like, it's so small. But my guess is, and again, this is just a guess, but as soon as government regulation goes into play, you'll see crypto smash 10 trillion by 2025.
That quickly? Oh, yeah. That it'll just, because everybody will put their assets
imagine
into that digital space.
Imagine you have $50 trillion worth of institutional investors and they only deploy 1%.
Right.
2% of their asset holdings are in crypto. Maybe it'll be 5%, So this is like the verge of the internet, so it's pretty cool.
Right, the OG.com boom where people were talking like it's such a wild kind of crazy frontier to look at that blockchain space. I don't know, for a crypto space, when you built that facility in South Jordan, you obviously had a hunch, at least back in 2014, that was going to be something. Funny story about this. My wife used to work for a company that gave them 5 free Bitcoin.
Nice.
This was back in like 2013. It was a token, and it was one of these things where it was like, oh yeah, haha, Bitcoin, whatever. And she never cashed it in.
Oh, nice.
We never used it.
You got 5?
We don't have them. We don't even, the code wasn't good with this. You had to go on to the exchange and it was basically a voucher for them. And they were, at the time, it was like $5 a coin or something like that. I remember when we got them, or $30 a coin or something like that. And we look back now and go, man, that would have been awesome to just have those 5 right now. But, I own a percentage of some things. And when you say buy, I'll go in and look and be like, oh, yeah, okay, I can throw a little. So my whole crypto portfolio is about $500.
No, you're getting started though. At least you've started.
But for what if I take that $500 and I turn it at 2.5% every time over the next 20 years, I'll have enough money to retire on, right? As long as I keep turning
I always
over
tell
2.5%.
people, think about dollar cost averaging in that, every month budget a certain amount for stocks you like, crypto you like, whatever you're going to invest in, and just be consistent about it. And if you're going to lose sleep over the amount you're investing too much. Dial it back a little. But make sure that you're just consistent.
Well, and I look at it like, if this isn't money that I would put at a blackjack table and be willing to lose, then I don't have money to invest that month.
That's a good way to think about it.
If I can't just fritter that away at a poker game, then that's too much money, and I'm going to wait till next month, and I'll put another couple $100 in here or there.
Yeah.
And I do little bits at a time. So that's great advice, though, to just be consistent with it. So what's something, as you've built the several businesses that you have, that's remained true the whole time? What's one thing that's been super consistent for you?
Tech has overall been very consistent, but more consistent than anything is real estate. The majority of my portfolio is actually real estate. It's not crypto or stocks. I like crypto and stocks, but real estate's slow to go. But if the math dials out right, your debt is right, all those things, it cash flows very good, and that gives you ammunition to be able to build new projects. So I think real estate should always be, eventually part of everyone's portfolio. Yeah, start small, go big, do house hacking,
And that's I know a lot of people that have done that, and my wife and I have looked into doing some of that and made some bad decisions, unfortunately. But now we know, and we've learned, and we're thankfully at a point now where we can start making some of these better decisions with the experience that we have. We have to get it wrong a few times, I feel like, before we get it right. And that's kind of where we're at with it anyway.
You know what you can do to avoid, because a lot of people say, hey, you got to fail a lot to win. You got to be willing to fail, but failing is not mandatory a lot. The best thing to do is talk to people who've been down that road, run it by them, get some good mentors, and get a little guidance before you act. Because a lot of times people just get really excited and emotional, and they don't do the math, and they don't know what they're getting into. And
or get excited on a 30-second Instagram reel that they saw that told them they could do this and make money, and you jump in without knowing all the details.
Yeah, and you get scammed.
There's a lot of that.
A lot of scammy. Yeah.
So, what's something that you wish you knew before you started that changed the way you look at business now with your family? As you built a business and you go, you know what? There were good times, there were bad times. There's something that I wish I knew then that I know now that you could share with your younger self.
The big one is make sure you're looking under rocks. And what I mean by that is all your system processes. A lot of people will be like, well, I'm not good at accounting, so I just won't understand it. Or I'm not good at logistics, I won't understand it. You better understand marketing. You better understand accounting. You better understand HR. You better at least have a fundamental understanding of those things. Because if you don't, that's what's going to bankrupt you.
Wow. See, nobody's in the podcast so far, nobody's even brought up any of that, because
that's what'll kill you.
It's your business and your brand, right? Nobody's going to care about it the way you do, so you better know everything that's going on all the different levels.
I've seen guys be like, I just let my CFO take care of everything, and then they found out that they got embezzled for all this money and they all these taxes, right? Mm-hmm. I've seen guys not figure out marketing, and marketing overspent $5 million, now they're broke. You need to understand what's going on, especially math. You have to. It's not even optional.
Well, and there's so many digital tools now that let you or teach you how to do that, right? There's really no excuse not to. Everything we know is on our phones. Everything that's ever been known is right here and is basically for free for us, right?
It is, but most people are really lazy, and they're like, I want to do what I love. And my rule is, you got to pick a certain amount of time every day to do what you hate. But you can get damn good at it, you'll start loving it.
Right. Because then it just becomes part of your process, right? You've internalized it at that point.
I hated doing math, and like when I was younger, I used to get D's and F's and stuff. But now I can do a lot of heavy math just in my mind because I've practiced. But when your mind associates being able to do math like that to making millions of dollars from being able to have that skill, then you're like, I'm going to work on that skill. Even though I hate that skill.
Right.
But you hear all this, do your passion, YOLO, do what you love. Yeah, that's how you're going to be broke.
If you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
No, I mean, it sucks going to the gym. It sucks eating clean. It sucks working a lot of hours. It sucks sometimes not seeing your family when you want to, and you got to spend that time. But pain is actually the key to happiness. People think it's crazy, but it's true.
There's the ISO for the social media post right there. Pain is the key to happiness.
Yeah. Sounds crazy, but pain becomes, it's like with no pain, there's no enjoyment. Think about this, though. Let's say we went to, I don't know, all-you-can-eat Korean buffet or something, right?
Love that.
Barbecue,
okay,
right?
You got me.
Okay. Like, if we weren't hungry, if we had just went and ate 4 bowls of ice cream before and went to the buffet, it wouldn't even taste good, right? But if we're freaking starving, man, it's like...
Hadn't eaten since lunch yesterday.
Yeah, and we're going to the buffet, man. That's a dang good buffet.
And I'm ready to put in work. I've got a body built for buffet, Dan.
Yeah. They'll kick us out, man.
I know a couple I've been kicked out before.
You've been there too long. Just tip extra.
They give me that 90-minute time limit, man.
That's right.
Hot pot's another one of those, too. I could kill some good hot pot.
Good hot pot.
Love that.
You just don't know what you're eating.
I don't care. It tastes good.
It's cat.
I don't care what it is.
No, I'm just kidding.
It can bark at me. It can meow at me. I don't care. Because if it gets in that spicy sauce and it's steaming, and it just melts when you put it in there, I'm okay with it. I don't care.
Hot pot, it boils out anything.
It's fine.
Kills germs.
As long as it gets above 140 degrees, it kills all the bacteria in it, right? And you're good?
You're good. Let's go get some roasted donkey.
I've eaten horse before. Not too proud to say it. It's fine. Horse meat's really good.
Just put it in the hot pot.
So just stick it in the hot pot. It changes everything.
Put everything in
So I know one of your passions outside of work and technology is cars.
Yeah.
You've been a car guy for a really long time. Talk about some of the cool cars you've owned and what you have now.
So cars, is interesting. In my younger years, I really wanted every car, Lambo, Ferrari, and all that. I had all of them at once, right? Now I still have some Lambos and stuff just because they look cool. They're good for advertising on social media to get younger people to our events and things like that. But at the end of the day, I might put 500 miles a year on, the Lambo STO or something like that. I mean, barely, right? My favorite vehicle of all vehicles is the Tesla Plaid, just because it's so practical as far as doing business, especially during the pandemic when we were living in our cars. And it's got Zoom built into it, into the camera in the car.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which is freaking cool.
That's dope.
And you can leave it there. You can work in the parking lot if you need to make some calls. You have the air conditioner on. It's charging your computer. So I think that's the greatest car ever, even though all the other cars are interesting. Porsches, McLarens, Ferraris, all that.
Well, I know you've had the supercars, but you also have some classics as well, right?
I'm not a big classics. I usually flip them. So I don't usually buy cars to really drive cars. I buy cars to make money. So a lot of these cars...
Just another piece of the business for you.
It's just inventory. So if you buy a Lambo for sticker, and it's a hard to find one, you can sell that for over sticker. You might make 20 grand, you might make 100, or you might make 200,000, whatever it is, whatever the demand cycle is. And then you can drive it for free for maybe 1,000 miles a year, a couple thousand miles if you wanted to, So that's all that is. But the Tesla, for me, that is an actual functional, it's like a phone, right, with a steering wheel. Mm-hmm. It's like a productivity tool.
It's a rolling office.
It's an office. It's just an office.
That's awesome. Now, the first time I ever saw was it Carol of the Bells play on the car? Is that what it is? Where the doors open and the lights flash.
Oh, Mannheim Steamroller?
Yeah, the Mannheim Steamroller thing. The first time I ever saw that on a Tesla was the video you shared a few years ago of that doing that in your driveway.
2016.
Yeah, that was a while ago. That was awesome. That was cool.
I replay that video every year.
You should, because I had never seen it do that. I didn't know they could do that. I've been able to drive a Tesla Plaid, and it's the only time I've ever been scared behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah, it's pretty fast.
It's unbelievable. My neighbor has one, and he's like, "Do you want to drive it?" And I was like, "Is Schwarzenegger hard to spell?" Yes, I want to drive it. And so, in an undisclosed location on a closed course with no supervision at all whatsoever, we put that thing at about 140 miles an hour in like less than 6 seconds.
Yeah, it's fast.
It was a rocket ship. It's the first time I've ever been afraid of how fast a car is.
It's pretty crazy.
It was super fun. And I've been in like the supercars and things like that.
But after you drive one for a while, it feels slow.
Does it really? You get used to it?
Anything, you get used to it.
No.
Yeah, it feels slow. They can make it faster.
I don't know if I could ever get to a point where like going 0 to 100 in less than 3 seconds was standard.
You know, people have said that. Like I remember my Camaro Z28 I had back in like the 80s, right? It was like, this thing's 300 horsepower. Oh, wow. You know, and it's so fast and feels slow now, right?
Right, like 300 horsepower, like a stock V6 Mustang comes with 300 horsepower.
Just give it a few years. It'll be like Warp 12. Are we going Warp 12? No.
Well, now
Warp
it's
9.
got ludicrous speed. Obviously, the Spaceballs, nerd mentions that are all in that with, he's gone plaid. Like, what's after ludicrous speed and plaid? Like, there's nowhere to go after that, right?
The next one is the rocket boosters. They're going to have compressed rocket booster tanks that when the license plate lid will lift up and throw like 40,000 pounds of thrust out the back. 0 to 60, they claim maybe like 1.1 seconds.
That's insanity.
So we'll see how that goes.
And I'm sure you've probably got it on order, right?
We do, but it's been 5 years. It's not here yet. Hurry up, Elon.
Just like the Cybertruck everybody's waiting on. It'll come eventually.
Another couple of years.
Once we land on Mars and he ticks that off the list, he'll come back to rocket boosters for us here.
Yeah, he's working on Twitter.
Gotta clean that up first.
Yeah.
Let's close with this question, Dan. What does it mean to you as kind of an adopted son to be Utah built? You built your family here. You built your businesses here. What is that when you look at the words Utah built? What does that mean to you?
Well, Utah is a great place to build any business, though. And the reason, I think culturally, the people here in Salt Lake are very warm-hearted overall and welcoming and helpful. In LA, there seems to be a lot of people who just want to help themselves. Not everybody, but a lot. In Utah, and maybe because it's the LDS dominant religion here, is people tend to want to do more charitable things and help out someone without a big expectation of something in return. That's good culturally. I think that's something that everyone should learn. So Utah built,
To surround yourself with the best parts of everybody, right?
Yeah, people are just willing to help out. Be a good neighbor. I mean, that's what it takes. Just be kind without expecting a massive amount of stuff in return. And it comes back to you, right?
Absolutely.
Always comes back.
Do the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I love it. Novel idea, right? Something new, Something our grandparents, I think, understood well, and it was lost a couple generations in between us. Well, thank you so much, Dan, for your time, for being here with us, for sharing a little bit of your story and your personality. Always appreciated as the president of Xidax and PC Laptops and the Ugly Unicorn Crypto Hedge Fund.
Yeah.
Right? I want to make sure I'm getting that out right.
And if people want to find me, just go to my Instagram. It's Dan's Millionaire Code. And I post all kinds of fun stuff for you.
All kinds of tips about not just crypto, but real estate and workshops and things that people can go to. You speak all the time. And
life, events, things, fun.
A lot of great stuff on there. Check him out on social media. Check us out on all your social medias and wherever you get your podcasts. Check out Utah Built. Dan, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks, man.
For Mason Benson, for our entire production staff, and the Utah Built brand, I'm Jared Banks. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next time.